Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and today I'm going to be doing an update video about my current Ninja opener and rotation for patch 2.4. I put a video out a few weeks ago, and since then I've had time to refine my rotation and learn a few new things about the job and how to maximize it, and I've been having really good success with this new opener that's really not too much different from my old one. But I've seen a world of difference just from changing around the location of one ability. Now, for those of you who don't want the nitty-gritty, who don't want to hear the legendary Mr. Happy ramble, there is a document in the description of the video that contains my current opener, my rotation priority system, my current gear, and my current best in slot list, the one that I'm aiming for at the very least. I get asked about those things a lot, so I'm including those all in the document in the description of the video. Now, as for my opener, like I said, I didn't really change too much with my opener. I mean, I haven't really felt the need to. It was pretty much just I had to move one ability over, and that was Mutilate. What I used to do is I used to Mutilate before I would Shadow Fang after I had done Dancing Edge and Trick Attack. But I've moved that around. It is now after Shadow Fang, so it's basically at the end of my opener. And I've also toyed around with it at the very beginning before I use any buffs. But first, I'm going to show you the opener that I have been using, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So here we have, we're going to start with the precast Huton. This is difficult to do in the Duty Finder and Party Finder. So if this doesn't end up working out for you, I mean, you tried. So it's okay if it takes a little bit extra time before you get into your opener, but if it's too early, it can really throw everything off. So when they're about 1/4 left, we start right now. And then from this point on, we're basically, through our opener, get the Jugulate and the Mug up at the end, and the Aeolian Edge, which you can actually still get up while Trick Attack is active. Another thing I like about this opener. Now, I'm going to continue on a little bit more before I go and I talk about it, because I want you to see how your abilities end up lining up a little bit. That's a big thing with openers. You have to keep in mind when your abilities are actually going to line up for second uses. Are your buffs going to line up with your dots? You just got to see how everything lines up, and I'm going to show you that basically right around the time I want to at least get back to the first Blood for Blood. So here we go. We're going to recast Huton. Now, one big thing with Ninja is Mudra lag. If you have poor latency, it can be very, very rough, but I do not recommend using macros for your Mudras at all. I highly recommend you don't do that. It can make things even more awkward. So as you can see, that actually lined up perfectly. My dot reapplications lined up perfectly with internal releases cooldown. So now we're going to do Trick Attack. I was a little bit late there while I was explaining it, but it ends up being okay. And I also tried to do something fancy there that didn't work at all. Don't take that as an example of what to do. That Blood for Blood usually does not line up with Trick Attack. I sort of forced it there while I was talking to you guys, and I messed up. But regardless, you kind of get the point. It doesn't line up with that Trick Attack, but it does line up with the following Shadow Fang and Mutilate, which is okay. Sorry, I had to cut off and start a new recording because my nephew's knocking on my door all morning and he interrupted my my recording. Sorry about that, but regardless, you guys just watched my Ninja rotation and opener. I did the opener and then I went a little bit into the rotation to show you how the abilities end up lining up as you progress throughout the fight. So now I want to talk about that opener, what I believe its advantages are, and where I still feel like there could be some improvement. So let's start with what the opener is. You start with your basic Dancing Edge combo, where you open with Spinning Edge, Blood for Blood and Internal Release on the first off global cooldown, Gust Slash, pop an X potion, then Dancing Edge. If you have a warrior off tank in your group and he's prioritizing Storm's Eye in his first rotation, you can instead go directly into Aeolian Edge, but that's going to heavily depend on who you're playing with and whatnot. Most of the time, you'll probably end up having to give yourself this initial Dancing Edge. Then you are going to use Suiton, which is your first ninjutsu. Then you're going to perform Spinning Edge, and then you're going to do Kasatsu and Trick Attack within the same off-global cooldown. I prefer actually to do Kasatsu first before Trick Attack, and that's because of it allows for safer timing with something a little bit later on. So next we have Shadow Fang. After that Shadow Fang, you'll perform your auto crit Kasatsu Raiton because you've already cast a Kasatsu and now you're just waiting to cast an Ninjutsu. Then you'll apply Mutilate, which at this point you now have Trick Attack, Internal Release, and Blood for Blood all up. You had them up for Shadow Fang as well. Then you can perform Mug into Spinning Edge, into Jugulate, and then just from that point on, it's Aeolian Edge when you don't need to Dancing Edge, Dancing Edge when you need it, and then Shadow Fang and Mutilate when they're below 4 seconds. You want to try and get them up as soon as possible. So, some of the advantages to this rotation, or at least the advantages I've found. You get both of your dots fully buffed. Blood for blood, internal release, and trick attack on both of them. Your potion is also going to be up for both of them. It gives them a huge power burst for the first application of those dots, and they actually end up being clipped at decent times later in the fight. Shadow Fang has done all of its ticks by the time that you get it, and it's being reapplied, hopefully, depending on server lag, right before the next dot is actually applied as well. Mutilate, also, you can pretty much get it up at about a similar time. It's usually a little bit earlier than that. It also allows you to have Blood for Blood and Trick Attack up for your first Aeolian Edge if you opened with Dancing Edge. If not, for your first Aeolian Edge, you have Blood for Blood, internal release, and your potion, and the second one you have Blood for Blood and Trick Attack. So it really just ends up working out on pretty much all facets for the first 30 seconds of the fight. Later into the fight, when internal release comes back up for the first time, it'll be just before you need to reapply your dots. So that's a perfect use. Blood for Blood will come up a little bit after Trick Attack, which is a little bit It depends on uptime on the boss. If you had to move out of range and you weren't attacking, in cases like that, it will actually be up at the same time as Trick Attack. However, that Blood for Blood is up for the reapplication of your dots with the Trick Attack debuff, at least for the Shadow Fang. So it ends up working out really well for the remainder of the fight. Your dots get almost always, they get their full timing. You almost always have a Dancing Edge immediately followed by a Shadow Fang, so your combo becomes very predictable and easy to repeat. And then Mutilate just comes up whenever it's got pretty much under 6 seconds left. If you're going into your Dancing Edge combo, Mutilate's about 4 to 5 seconds, then you can reapply it. If not, you can just wait until the end of the combo and then reapply it after. Shadow Fang holds priority over Mutilate. Dancing Edge holds priority over pretty much everything, and it just all ends up working out great. I would like to add a few things. One, I want to remind you that Dancing Edge's slashing debuff does not affect the damage over time of Shadow Fang and Mutilate. The big reason why you get this up first before your Shadow Fang, it allows you to prep all of your buffs and debuffs, and it'll affect your auto attacks. Auto attacks are a big part of your DPS, and getting the Dancing Edge debuff up for all of your auto attacks is one of the most important things that you can do. So then it's a matter of use your ninjutsu in the order, Huton at the start, Trick Attack and Kasatsu, you'll try and line those up as best you can, and then it'll basically be Huton, Suiton, Raiton, Huton, Suiton, Raiton, Huton, Suiton, Raiton. In a perfect world, that's how it'll work out. That is your ninjutsu rotation. Everything else is just a matter of pop it when it's available. Try to line up internal release with your dots as best as possible. That is where internal release is the most effective. Same with Blood for Blood. Do your best to line that up. And if you ever can, line up Trick Attack, Blood for Blood, and your dots. It actually works out very well for the majority of places in this rotation. If that's not working for you, you can also try using Mutilate as your very first ability. It won't have many buffs, but because it ticks for the entire duration while you're getting up to the end of Shadow Fang in your opener, then it basically allows you to do approximately the same damage in the time that you wasted. That damage will be almost made up for, as opposed to doing Mutilate at the end of your opener. And it allows for different timings, which can work really well on certain fights where you may not have a lot of uptime at the start of the fight. It ensures that you at least get both your dots up as well as your Dancing Edge debuff, etc., etc. If you have any recommendations, just because this is my preferred rotation, I still like to hear other people's rotations and ideas and what their mythology is behind this. How does it line up later in the fight? This is sort of like a community thing. I want people to leave feedback. I want you guys to go and try this for yourself, see how it works for you, and let me know how it works out. Again, document in the description of the video if you need it. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV information, news, guides, whatever. And until next time, guys, take care.